Hi, this is Curt and welcome to another edition of Fire Law Roundup.
Let's go to Massachusetts. I think it's easy to summarize. Before when I go through your your blog, I try to pull out the meat of it. And here in Massachusetts, so the Civil Service Commission in Massachusetts, and we just spoke about Massachusetts last week. It was very interesting, and how they're more liberal for protecting users of THC products and cannabis-based products. But here, the Civil Service Commission has upheld the fire department's decision to bypass a candidate who had a positive THC test. Now, as I understand it, the question and the examination wants to determine, and they ask you, in the last 10 years, have you used THC product? I think that is a crazy question, but nonetheless, and so they go through with this firefighter a bunch of tests, and they find it in his beard. But other tests came up negative. And the court, or the civil service and the court wrestle, they say, well, was this, are the tests inconsistent? Because the candidate is arguing these tests are inconsistent and thus not reliable. The court disagrees here. They said, no, they are absolutely compatible, reliable tests that you found in your beard. You didn't find it somewhere else. They talk about how close to the skin it was, and how, that clearly showed he had used it in the last umpteen years or months. And so what they say is, listen, he did obviously use it. We find the test reliable. And so you are allowed to say that we're not going to hire you based on use in the past. No, I'm shocked. In New York State, that would not be allowed, and Massachusetts and New York are somewhat very protective of their employees. So I'm a little.
That was shocked. My point last week when we were talking about this, that we have to separate the laws allowing medical marijuana, which have a certain protective quality about them. People can't be arrested and so on. Okay, versus laws like in New York, there's employment protection that is not in the Massachusetts law. It's not in many states' law. Okay, so again, New York and Connecticut are really out in front of the rest of the country on that. They actually make it a disability, and that if you try to harm or terminate someone for medical marijuana use, it's employment discrimination, same as any other type of protected class.
Right, recreational use too is protected in New York, and they say you can't discriminate based on recreational use. Which is somewhat shocking in a safety sensitive, position such as this. In any event, they say, listen, you had, positive drug tests in the past, and you are out now. And you don't have to be hired; you can be passed over. The court did not focus on the truthfulness, but did recognize that, listen, he said that he had never used. And since he did test positive, he actually lied, and that could have served as a second and independent basis for rejecting him. But they didn't really, he just said, I don't need to do that. He said, but if I did, I would have said, you lied, and they could have gotten rid of you or passed you over for lying. So, but yeah, this is very interesting. Again, you're in any state you're in, you've got to look at the protections, right, that your state offers or doesn't offer with regard to use of marijuana or THC.
Yeah. I think one of the things I took away from this, and it's something I wasn't aware of, is that the hair testing for facial hair can go back much further, because apparently facial hair grows slower in some people. Facial hair grows slower. Well, we know that, right? But but they said that the scalp hair goes back roughly 3 months at the longest, whereas facial hair can go back even longer. Yeah. And so I thought that was pretty interesting discussion that was in the case. So.
Yep. And I look, there's all sorts of things you could talk about testing, but the testing and what it shows and doesn't show, it's been so beat up and so well established what types of drug testing can show. So I think he was going to have a very difficult time to say that he, that the drug tests are unreliable, because we're so far past that in today's science. The method of drug testing, people today can argue, is unreliable, just not the type of the test, like how you delivered it. You didn't do a split sample, or you contaminated it, or you didn't watch me, or you touched it with, something, whatever, unsterile, or, I mean, you can beat up the methods today and have a retest done in a properly conducted test, but it's very tough to beat up tests today is not, oversensitive or not specific, et cetera.